Within you lies boundless potential, an unstoppable drive, a wellspring of power that no one can diminish. You possess the ability to become stronger, more resilient, and unwavering. Yet why do so many people fail to tap into this truth? Why do they feel lost, insecure, and constantly pursue an elusive, fragile form of happiness? The answer is simple. They give the key to their happiness away to others. They believe that acceptance, support, or love from those around them can complete them. But this is a constantly shifting target, forever elusive and out of their control. You can't control how others think or feel, and you don't need to. You are intelligent. You are you. You are capable. You are you. You are joyful. You are you. No one can give you these qualities, just as no one can take them from you. Don't worry about others. You don't need anyone else to be your authentic self. Happiness isn't a gift handed to you by someone. It's a mindset you choose to embrace. So how can you break free from depending on others and discover true happiness within? Here are 7 Stoic principles to guide you towards living a life of strength, freedom, and fulfillment, no matter who is or isn't by your side. Stay principle number 1. Happiness comes from within, not from external circumstances. Have you ever wondered why some people, despite having it all, wealth, fame, and recognition, still feel empty? On the other hand, there are those who, despite living modestly with little material wealth, carry an enduring and profound sense of happiness. Stoic philosophy provided the answer to this paradox thousands of years ago. Happiness does not stem from the outside world, but from how we perceive and react to it. As Epictetus once said, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of things. This means that it's not the external circumstances that dictate our joy or sorrow, but rather our mindset and how we respond to what happens. If you allow external factors to control your emotions, you will never find true peace. Imagine walking through a park, enjoying the fresh air, when suddenly a stranger yells at you for no reason. If you immediately get angry and argue with them, you've surrendered control of your emotions to that stranger. But if you pause, take a deep breath, and realize that their words only have meaning if you give it to them, you can walk away with peace. The person may still be upset, but their anger no longer holds power over you. You've conquered not them, but the chaos within yourself. Happiness, in its essence, doesn't come from being recognized by others, from relationships, or from perfect circumstances. It isn't found in the luxury of your car, the compliments you receive, or the digits in your bank account. These things might provide temporary joy, but if you depend on them for contentment, you'll always live in fear of losing them. True happiness is an internal state, a choice that no one can take away from you. A story illustrates this point well. John and Michael worked at the same company for 10 years. One day, both received distressing news. The company was restructuring, and they were both laid off. It was the same circumstance, but their reactions couldn't have been more different. John spiraled into crisis. He sat motionless in his usual coffee shop, hands trembling as he clutched the termination letter. Panic flooded his mind. What will I do now? What if I can't find another job? I'm such a failure. He was consumed by fear, unable to sleep, and blamed himself for not being better prepared. Meanwhile, Michael, although initially stunned, quickly regained his composure. He reminded himself, I can't control being laid off, but I can control how I respond. Rather than wallowing in self-pity, he saw this setback as a chance to explore new possibilities. He started learning new skills, reached out to friends for job leads, and even considered starting his own business. 6 months later, Michael was running his own company, while John continued to struggle with his fears. The same event, yet their mindsets shaped their futures. Life will always present challenges, betrayals, rejections, losses. But if you let these events define your self-worth and happiness, you'll remain vulnerable. The Stoics don't deny emotions, but they recognize that it's our interpretation and response to life's challenges that truly matter. This doesn't mean becoming emotionless or never feeling sadness, but it does mean realizing that only you have control over your thoughts and emotions. Once you understand this, you won't be swayed by things that don't truly matter. You can find peace, even when everything around you appears to be crumbling. Have you ever had a moment when someone hurt you, not through actions, but simply with a single comment, a dismissive look, or an indifferent response. Suddenly, a rush of emotions floods in: anger, pain, disappointment. But if you pause and reflect, ask yourself, what truly caused your suffering? Was it their words, or was it the way you chose to interpret them? You hold the power to decide how to react. You can get angry, feel hurt, or you can remain calm, like a steady rock in the middle of a storm. Controlling your thoughts and emotions doesn't mean repressing them. It means understanding that you are the one in charge of how they affect you. If you can master your mind, then nothing and no one can take your happiness away from you. Continue this journey with me, as the next principle will show you how to control your inner world, ensuring you stay grounded amidst the chaos of the outside world. Principle number 2, control your thoughts and emotions. Imagine lying in bed after a long, exhausting day. Your body is ready to rest, and the pillows seem to beckon you, but as soon as you lie down, your mind starts racing. Thoughts flood in, pulling you into a whirlwind that seems endless. Things people said, past mistakes, unseen worries about the future. All of these seem to work together against you, and suddenly, you feel stressed. Your heart races, and it feels as though you'll never get to sleep. With so many thoughts running through your mind each day, it can feel impossible to regain control over them. Sometimes our thoughts flood in like a rushing river, sweeping away the peace we desperately try to hold on to. However, there is one essential truth you must grasp. You cannot control others, but you can control how you react. Mastering your thoughts is the first step on the path to self-mastery. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Your happiness doesn't stem from external factors. It's not about compliments, recognition, or the relationships you have. It comes from the quality of your thoughts. If your mind is overwhelmed with worries, doubts, and regrets, you will always feel unsettled, even when surrounded by positive things. But if you learn to turn negative thoughts into constructive ones, you'll find the strength to withstand life's challenges. Imagine standing before a class, giving an important presentation you've worked hard to prepare. But as soon as you finish, someone in the audience speaks up with a mocking tone. This presentation offers nothing new. I don't understand why we even have to listen to this. For a moment, the room goes quiet, and some people look at you, waiting to see how you'll respond. A wave of emotions rises: anger, embarrassment, maybe even hurt. You might feel tempted to react impulsively, snap back, or let the anxiety shake your confidence. But then, you remember that their judgment does not define you. Their words reflect their perspective, not your true worth. You take a deep breath, smile gently, and respond calmly. I respect your opinion. If you have more specific feedback, I'd be happy to hear it. The room remains silent for a moment. The person may not get the reaction they expected. But most importantly, you have kept your composure. The control remains with you. However, controlling your thoughts isn't always simple. There are times when emotions take over so strongly that we forget we have the power to choose how we react. But this is something Stoic philosophers understood deeply. We cannot avoid difficult situations, nor can we stop others from saying negative things or control the challenges life throws at us. However, we do have control over how we perceive and handle them. Imagine your mind as a fortress. On the outside, there are those who wish to break in, judgmental words, mocking glances, unwanted opinions. But if you don't open the gate, they cannot enter. You are the gatekeeper of your own mind. You decide who is allowed in and who remains outside. So, how do you practice controlling your thoughts and emotions? The first step is awareness. Whenever you feel yourself being swept away by a negative emotion, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this feeling worth sacrificing my peace over? Do I really need to react right now? The next step is to focus on what you can control. You cannot change others, but you can change how you think about them. You cannot alter the past, but you can learn from it. You cannot prevent hardships, but you can choose how to face them. Lastly, practice serenity. Remember, not reacting is also a form of response. When someone tries to provoke you, look at them with calmness, as if they were just a passing breeze. When negative thoughts arise in your mind, observe them, but don't let them control you. You are stronger than you realize. You have the power to choose how you think, and feel. When you truly master your thoughts, you'll discover an important truth. You don't need anyone to be happy. Happiness has always resided within your mind, and only you have the ability to decide it. What do you think about controlling thoughts and emotions through Stoic philosophy? Have you ever applied these principles in your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments. Principle No. 3. Accept impermanence and do not cling to people. For many, happiness feels like a fragile thread that ties them to their relationships. They love someone deeply and believe that person is the center of their world. They have a stable job and consider it the foundation of their security. They own valuable possessions and feel like they have life under control. But one day, all of this can disappear. The person leaves, the job vanishes, the possessions are gone, and they feel lost, hurt, and broken. Why? Because they've clung too tightly to things that are inherently impermanent. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once said, "The key is to keep company only with those who uplift you, whose presence brings out your best." This doesn't mean isolating ourselves, but recognizing that people are not meant to stay in our lives forever. The presence of someone should inspire and motivate, not bind us with unnecessary attachment. Understanding that nothing is eternal frees us from the fear of loss. You will learn to appreciate the present moment more deeply, while also being prepared to let go when the time comes. Everything in this universe is in constant flux. Day follows night, summer gives way to autumn, and people are no exception. Someone may be an essential part of your life today, but there is no certainty they will remain there forever. Death, changes in circumstances, or simply diverging paths are all part of the natural flow of life. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor and philosopher, spent much of his life contemplating this impermanence. He realized that without accepting it, we will remain trapped in suffering. Therefore, instead of resisting change, we must learn to embrace it with a calm and balanced mind. How do we achieve this tranquility? By practicing Stoic thinking. Do not cling, do not possess, and do not expect anything to last forever. Holding on to someone too tightly doesn't just create insecurity, it is a form of self-imprisonment. When you place your happiness in the hands of others, you give up control over your emotions. You start to fear losing their love, their attention, their presence in your life, and that very fear causes you to suffer even before anything happens. Seneca once taught that you should imagine everything you love could vanish tomorrow. Not to be pessimistic, but to prepare your mind. When you adopt this mindset, you'll no longer be afraid of loss. You can still love, still connect, but you will no longer be dependent. And that is the true state of freedom. Have you ever felt profound pain when someone left you? If so, take a moment to reflect. Was it because you gave them too much power over your emotions? Did you truly love them, or were you simply afraid of being alone? The most honest answers often emerge when we have the courage to face ourselves. When you stop clinging to others, you will experience a profound sense of relief. You no longer need to worry about who will stay or who will leave. You begin to embrace the present moment without needing guarantees about what lies ahead. Consider this: a true friend who values your presence in their life will not need to be forced to stay. A relationship that is worth holding on to isn't about possession, but about mutual freedom. If you have to hold someone back, it is no longer a bond, it becomes captivity. And if someone chooses to leave, let them go. Not because you don't care, but because you understand and respect the natural course of life. You don't need to hold on to anyone because your happiness is not dependent on anyone else. Many people mistakenly view letting go as a loss. But in reality, letting go is an act of understanding and strength. It shows that you are strong enough to accept that everything has its time. It signifies that you cherish each moment, but you do not fear its passing. You don't need anyone to complete you. This doesn't mean you can't love, connect, or have meaningful relationships, but it means that your sense of completeness is not reliant on anyone else. You are already whole. Principle number 4. Self-control is the key to freedom and happiness. The key to freedom and happiness lies in one important realization. Every time you let your emotions be swayed by others, you unknowingly surrender your power to them. Imagine this scenario. You are having a great day, But then a single look of disdain, a thoughtless comment, or a missed message is enough to pull you into a storm of anxiety. In that instant, your happiness is no longer within your control, but dependent on the approval of others. This is exactly what Stoic philosophy warns against. If you don't take charge of your emotions, others will take control for you. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This is not just a theory, but a practical principle that enables us to find peace, no matter the situation. Life is unpredictable, filled with failures, losses, betrayals, and criticism. But if we believe that our happiness or suffering depends on external factors, we become slaves to those circumstances. There is a powerful truth to embrace. No one has the power to control your thoughts and emotions except you. When you stop stressing over things beyond your control, other people's opinions, their actions, or outside events, you will discover that no one can hurt you unless you allow it. True freedom doesn't come from attempting to control the world, but from mastering your own inner self. And that is the greatest strength one can possess. Let me share a story about someone who exemplified this philosophy in the most profound way. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. During his time in Auschwitz, he was stripped of everything. His family, his freedom, even his identity were stripped away. He was imprisoned in conditions that many would believe made happiness or hope impossible. Yet, Viktor Frankl uncovered a profound truth. Even when everything is taken from you, there remains one thing no one can take: your control over your thoughts and how you respond to what happens to you. Frankl realized that happiness is not dependent on external conditions, but on one's inner attitude. In his book Man's Search for Meaning, he wrote that between the stimulus, what happens to us, and the response, how we react to it, there's a small gap. Within that gap, we have the power to choose our response, and it is in that choice that we find our true freedom, the kind of freedom no one can take away. So, ask yourself, are you letting others control that gap within you? Do you let a stranger's words dictate your mood? Do you feel hurt just because someone fails to recognize your worth? If so, you are allowing others to hold the reins of your happiness. The good news, however, is that you can take that power back. Self-control not only shields you from the emotional storms created by others, but it also brings a deep, unshakable sense of inner peace, a happiness that remains unaffected by external circumstances. When you control your thoughts, you also take control of your life. But there's another crucial truth many overlook. True inner freedom doesn't just come from mastering emotions, but also from embracing solitude and personal growth. Many people fear loneliness, but in truth, solitude is not a punishment, it is a gift. It is the time to understand yourself, to explore your thoughts, and to grow stronger without relying on anyone else. Solitude provides an opportunity for deep reflection and self-improvement. So how can you learn to embrace solitude instead of fearing it? How can you use your alone time to become the best version of yourself? Let's explore this in principle number 5. Learn to enjoy solitude and develop yourself. There's a deep-seated fear within humans that few dare to acknowledge, the fear of being left alone. We often fill our lives with relationships, meaningless conversations, and an endless stream of messages just to avoid confronting our own thoughts in silence. But have you ever asked yourself, are you truly afraid of loneliness? Or are you simply afraid of what it will reveal? Stoic philosophy has long emphasized that solitude is not something to fear, but rather an opportunity for self-growth. When you stop relying on others to feel happy, you begin to learn how to find value within yourself. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, spent years writing his meditations not to showcase his wisdom, but to engage in self-dialogue. He sought to understand himself better, refine his thinking, and improve his morals. He did not need anyone else to feel complete because he had found wholeness within his own soul. Can you feel that? When the world becomes too noisy, when everything around you urges you to seek validation, can you find peace in your own company? Have you ever wondered, if everyone disappeared, would you still feel happy? That question might unsettle many, but for a Stoic practitioner, it is not a frightening prospect. It is a powerful reminder that true happiness never comes from external sources. Imagine an early morning when a thin mist still lingers over the rooftops and the sky takes on the soft blue hue of dawn. Everything outside seems to be still asleep. No honking cars, no phone calls, no pressing messages. There is only you, sitting in your favorite corner with a warm cup of coffee releasing its gentle aroma. You take a sip, feeling the warmth spread through your body as if awakening each of your senses. In front of you lies an open book, its words inviting you into another world of deep thoughts and philosophies that help you understand yourself better. No one is watching, no one is judging, no one expects anything from you. You turn each page slowly, letting every idea seep into your mind. You realize that this moment is not loneliness, but a form of pure freedom. Freedom from expectations, from invisible pressures, from the need to prove your worth to anyone. There is only you with yourself, in a silence that feels whole. But in reality, most people do not know how to enjoy solitude. They seek to fill their empty time with short-lived pleasures, fleeting relationships, and meaningless conversations just to escape the emptiness within. This is no different from someone drinking seawater to quench their thirst. The more they drink, the thirstier they become. Stoicism teaches that if you cannot be happy alone, you will never truly be happy. Because when you rely on others to fill your inner void, you give away your power to others. You become dependent on their presence, their attention, and their approval to feel fulfilled. You are giving them control over your emotions. Today, they are with you and you feel happy. Tomorrow, they leave and you feel lost. That is not freedom, it is dependence. The strongest people are not those with the most relationships, but those who can stand alone and still feel whole. They do not need anyone else to validate their worth because they understand that value does not come from external recognition, but from what they do when no one is watching. Enjoying solitude does not mean abandoning society or cutting off all relationships. It means learning to cherish the time spent alone, to nurture your soul, to reflect, and to become the best version of yourself. You can start with the smallest steps. Spend an evening without your phone, without social media, without meaningless conversations. Just you and a book or a blank page where you write down your thoughts. Observe how it feels. It may be unfamiliar at first, perhaps even empty, but soon you will realize that you are not truly alone because you have yourself. You do not need anyone else to feel complete. Everything you need is already within you. The only thing you must do is learn to recognize it. Principle number 6, practice gratitude instead of expecting from others. There is a strange paradox in the way humans seek happiness. Most of us constantly look outward, placing our expectations on others, hoping they will bring us joy, recognition, or genuine affection. We wait for a message from a friend to feel important, a compliment from a colleague to believe we are valuable, or a hug from someone to feel loved. But what happens if those things never come? If the message is never sent, the compliment never spoken, and the care never reciprocated, will we still feel happy? Stoic philosophy teaches that true happiness does not come from external circumstances, but from how we perceive the world within us. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." This statement is not only about material possessions, but also a profound truth about human psychology. When we constantly expect from others, we put ourselves in a state of lack, believing that we need something beyond our control to feel complete. But if we practice gratitude, we will realize that we lack nothing and that we can be happy right now, without the approval or attention of anyone else. Take Robert's story as an example. Robert is a responsible and sincere man who always strives to maintain good relationships. He makes an effort to text, call, and check in with his friends, taking the initiative to meet up and stay connected. But one day, he realizes that if he doesn't reach out first, no one calls him. Conversations that once brought him joy now feel burdensome because they stem from expectation rather than natural connection. He starts feeling disappointed, thinking that he doesn't truly matter to anyone. But instead of letting sadness take over, Robert decides to change his perspective. He stops waiting for messages or calls from others and focuses on the present. Instead of feeling disappointed that his friends don't reach out, he feels grateful for the extra time to read books he loves, take walks, and enjoy the peace of a new day. By shifting from expectation to gratitude, Robert no longer feels dependent on others to be happy. He realizes that he is still valuable, still important, regardless of whether anyone reaches out to him. This brings us to a fundamental principle of Stoicism. As Epictetus once said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." When we stop placing expectations on others and focus on what we already have, we recognize that we are not as lacking as we once thought. Gratitude does not mean we do not need human connection or love. It simply means we do not place our happiness in the hands of others. When we are grateful, we no longer see the world through the lens of scarcity, but through the lens of abundance. A simple yet delicious meal, a fresh morning with gentle sunlight, a good book waiting to be read, these can all bring joy if we pause to appreciate them. If we keep expecting from others, we will always feel uneasy. If they care, we are happy. If they are indifferent, we are sad. But when we practice gratitude, we gain control over our own emotions. No one can disappoint us if we do not expect anything from them in the first place. No one can make us feel insignificant if we recognize our own worth without needing external validation. Happiness is not something distant that others can give us. It is always there within our minds, waiting for us to recognize its presence. The only thing we need to do is stop expecting and start being grateful. Principle number 7, live by your own morals and values. A life worth living is not one painted with nods of approval, rounds of applause, or words of praise. It is not about gaining the consensus of the crowd, but rather the agreement of your own inner self. Have you ever felt like you had to please others to be accepted? That you had to behave in a certain way to avoid judgment, or that you had to hide your true thoughts for fear of being isolated? That is the burden of dependence on approval. But a Stoic does not live that way. Stoicism teaches that true happiness can only be achieved when you live according to your own values, not someone else's. Look at the life of Socrates, a man who never bowed to the crowd, who never bent his beliefs to please anyone. He was sentenced to death for holding ideas that went against the norms of his society. But did he feel miserable? No, he walked into death with absolute serenity because he knew he had lived true to himself. He had no regrets, no self-doubt, and no resentment toward life. To a man like Socrates, living while losing himself was far more terrifying than dying. So why are so many people afraid to live according to their own values? Because they have become accustomed to seeking validation from others. They fear being ridiculed, rejected, or not accepted. But think about it. What happens if today you are praised, but tomorrow those same people turn their backs on you? If you rely on others' recognition to feel good about yourself, then you have placed your fate in their hands. And that is the greatest danger. You let others define your worth instead of yourself. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Happiness does not come from striving for others' acceptance, but from having the courage to live by what you believe is right. A peaceful soul is not one that is applauded, but one that is no longer burdened by external praise or criticism. However, living according to your values does not mean opposing or isolating yourself from the world. It does not mean rejecting all differing opinions or living arrogantly. Instead, it means recognizing what truly matters to you and standing firm in it, whether others agree or not. That is inner independence. That is the ability to look in the mirror each day and know that you have lived honestly, without pretense, without compromising what is right, just to be accepted. Imagine you are in an important meeting where everyone agrees with an idea that you clearly know is wrong. Do you stay silent to avoid isolation, or do you have the courage to stand up and speak the truth? The moment you choose to uphold your values instead of following the crowd, you demonstrate the strongest form of freedom. And even if you face opposition, you can walk out of that room with your head held high, knowing you have been true to yourself. Stoics understand that in life, there will always be people who disagree with you. There will be times when you are criticized, misunderstood, or judged. But that does not matter. What matters is whether you have the courage to continue living the way you believe is right. You do not need anyone to be happy. True happiness is not a gift someone can give you. nor is it something others can take away. It does not come from recognition or praise, but from the peace of a soul that no longer depends on anyone. Live according to your values. Do not let shifting opinions shake your beliefs. Do not seek approval from those who do not understand you, and never trade your true self for temporary acceptance. Socrates did not bow his head, Marcus Aurelius did not waver, and Epictetus did not beg for recognition. They did not need anyone to be happy, they only needed themselves, and so do you. So, we have journeyed together through the exploration of happiness from the perspective of Stoicism. Perhaps you have realized an important truth. Happiness is not something that comes from the outside, but a state you create within yourself. It does not depend on anyone else, nor is it bound by others' approval or affection. Stoicism teaches us that inner freedom is the key to living peacefully, unaffected by external circumstances. Now ask yourself, have you ever felt unhappy just because you lacked someone's recognition? If so, what will you do to regain control over your emotions? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss future content. The videos appearing on your screen right now will guide you in exploring Stoic philosophy further and teach you how to apply its principles to your daily life. Remember, you don't need anyone else to find happiness. You only need yourself. See you in the next video.